Hello everyone. I know I haven't made a video in a while. There's reasons for that. The first of which is that I was kind of discouraged after I made my last video and talking to a few people. I'd rather not completely get into reasons for that, but I decided to take a break after that. Other reasons are that I just got busy. It was my birthday, and then Thanksgiving, and then Christmas, and then New Year, and with everything that comes with that, I just, things just kind of got away from me. The third reason is that, quite the contrary of not having anything to talk about, I had a lot of things to talk about in these videos, and I was kind of letting all those things marinate and let sort of the ideas come to me and writing stuff down while I was also being creative with other things like my writing and drawing and things like that. But with that being said, I was talking about something with a friend of mine about a week or two before Christmas. He and I were talking about Christmas music, specifically songs that are played as Christmas songs, played during the Christmas and holiday season, but that really have no business being played as Christmas music, or at least not exclusively as Christmas music. Talked about a lot of songs, but specifically one that I've really thought about is the song Hallelujah, originally by Leonard Cohen. He wrote it in 1984, and it's been covered by so many people. In fact, I don't think his version is even the most famous version of the song. I'm not sure what version that would be, but I'm almost certain it's not his. And the reason that song came to mind is because one of my favorite musical groups did a cover of that song recently on their Christmas album of all things, and that group is Pentatonix. They did a lovely version of the song. It's beautiful. As I said, they put it on their Christmas album, and it was being played on the radio on the stations that were playing Christmas music. It was being played in malls and restaurants that I was in at certain times, shopping or eating. And so it came up a lot this Christmas season. And as I said, Hallelujah is not a Christmas song. Yes, it's the title of the song is Hallelujah, and the phrase Hallelujah is repeated a lot throughout the entire song, but the hallelujah in the song is a cold and broken hallelujah. That's how the song ends. If it's a cold and broken hallelujah, and Christmas is supposed to be about, love and happiness and togetherness and goodwill toward men and joy and all that other stuff, and the birth of Christ and whatever else, then how does a song about a cold and broken hallelujah fit? And while, yes, there's many biblical references in the song, all of them are Old Testament references. There's not one reference to Jesus, which makes sense because Cohen was Jewish. So, that's another reason that I find it funny that this song is normally seen as a Christmas song by a lot of people, because Cohen was Jewish. So why would a Jewish man write a Christmas song? But that's kind of beside the point. But within the context of the song, the first song is about David, composing music. Well, I heard there was a secret chord that David played and pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do ya? Well, it goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing Hallelujah. And again, it's about David. It specifically mentions him by name. He was famous for a lot of things, one of which was because he wrote music for the king before him, the king Saul, I believe. I don't have a Bible in front of me, but I believe it's Saul. And, so he wrote songs for him. And the reason that he's the baffled king, at least in my interpretation of the song, and this will be my interpretation, is because he finds out that he is the king and that Saul should not be the king, that he is the chosen king. So that baffles him, that confuses him. But then it follows into the next verse, in which he sees Bathsheba, I think was the woman that he falls in love with, sees her bathing on the roof. The verse is, you had your faith, but you needed proof. So you had your faith that you were the king, but you needed proof. You saw her bathing on the roof. Her beauty in the moonlight overthrew you. Which, that's exactly what happens. Bathsheba seduces David. He falls in love with her, even though he's married and she's married. And he murders her husband, and because of that, he's overthrown, and his, you know, his kingdom is compromised, and, you know, that's how the story goes of David. So, you know, there's all this reference to David, but he's overthrown by love. His solace is the Hallelujah. You know, the baffled king composing Hallelujah. The Hallelujah is surrounded by all these terrible things. And so, you know, and then that happens again. It talks about Samson. You know, she tied you to the kitchen chair, she broke your throne and cut your hair, and from your lips she drew the Hallelujah. So Delilah, who was Samson's lover, you know, cut his hair, broke his throne, gouges out his eyes, which is in the song, but she does that too. And from your lips she drew the Hallelujah. And you know, in a lot of versions of the story, Samson, you know, calls out to God for help when this is all happening to him, and God does help him, and he winds up dying in the fray, but he winds up saving his people, and that's the story of Samson. So from your lips she drew the Hallelujah. So once there, that Hallelujah is there, but it's not this celebration, it's a solace. It's something to help get through the difficult times. So yes, that message is there, but it's surrounded by all this sadness, and then it kind of degrades after that. Throughout the rest of the song, and I'm talking about the Pentatonics version, it's a cold and broken Hallelujah. The Hallelujah only comes when one is cold and broken. So that, once again, does not make it a Christmas song. Yes, it's about love, but it's also about the loss of love and everything that comes with it. So, to me, it does not have its place as a Christmas song, which is supposed to be about joy and love and caring and giving and, you know, receiving and all this other wonderful stuff that Christmas comes with. It's not a wonderful song. I mean, it's a wonderful song in the way it was composed and its lyrics, but it's not a wondrous song. You know, it's not about the gift of Christmas in any respect. There's another song that my friend and I were discussing that sort of follows the same vein about how love can be lost, and this song specifically mentions Christmas, specifically Christmas Eve. The song is Auld Lang Syne, not Auld Lang Syne, like da 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 da. Not that song that's played during New Year's. It's Auld Lang Syne by Dan Fogelberg, and that is played at the end of the song, but it's played on a saxophone very slowly, sort of somberly, and it follows a story that many people believe to be a true story, and a woman actually came out saying it was a true story by Dan Fogelberg. And the song, as I said, mentions Christmas, but it's met my old lover in the grocery store. The snow was falling Christmas Eve. And that's the only mention of Christmas that you hear in the entire song. So you know that it takes place on Christmas. Well, on Christmas Eve. It takes place during the winter. There's snow. You know, the snow was falling Christmas Eve. He meets his old lover. So you think, oh, maybe this is going to be, you know, he runs into his old lover because he's home, and it's going to be this nice song about, you know, it's Christmas Eve, and he finds love on Christmas Eve, and that's not what it's about at all. It's actually really depressing, because it goes, met my old lover in the grocery store. The snow was falling Christmas Eve. I stood behind her in the frozen foods, and I touched her on the sleeve. She didn't recognize the face at first, but then her eyes flew open wide. She went to hug me, and she spilled her purse, and we laughed until we cried. We took her groceries to the checkout stand. The food was totaled up and bagged. We stood there lost in our embarrassment, and the conversation lagged. So from there, you're kind of, you know, it's the first two verses are happy, and it's like, oh, I ran into my old lover. She, you know, didn't recognize me at first, but she was really happy to see me. So it's like, okay, so it's sort of an awkward meeting between two old lovers. Maybe they'll, you know, catch up or something like that. And they do catch up. You know, we went to have ourselves a drink or two, but couldn't find an open bar. We bought a 6-pack at the liquor store, and we drank it in her car. We drank a toast to innocence. We drank a toast to now. We tried to reach beyond the emptiness, but neither one knew how. So again, even the chorus kind of starts happy. You know, we drank a toast to innocence. We drank a toast to now. So it's like, oh, that's nice. And then it goes into, we tried to reach beyond the emptiness, but neither one knew how. And from there, you really know that the song's about to take a downturn. And, you know, it goes into, I don't want to keep reading lyrics, but it goes into how she married an architect, and he kept her safe, but she didn't love the architect. And then he compliments her that her eyes are still as beautiful as ever, but he's not sure if she is thankful or if she doubts him. And she said that she saw his records and that he must be doing well. And, you know, he talks about traveling and how it sucks, but he loves, you know, playing for an audience, and there's all this other stuff. There's still that chorus of, we drank a toast to innocence, we drank a toast to now, we tried to reach beyond the emptiness, but neither one knew how. So it's, you know, they're catching up, but there's all of this sort of somberness underneath it, and it's this, you know, really sad undertones about meeting an old lover. And then it really takes a downturn, because the chorus, the second time the chorus is sang, it's then repeated. We drank a toast to innocence. We drank our toast to time, reliving in our eloquence another Auld Lang Syne. So it's another celebration of New Year, which is okay. But then in the last verse, the beer was empty and her tongues were tired and running out of things to say. She gave a kiss to me as I got out, and I watched her drive away. Just for a moment, I was back at school and felt that old familiar pain. And as I turned to make my way back home, the snow turned into rain. And that snow turning into rain is what really makes the song, for me, very sad. And then there's, you know, sort of a following melody of Auld Lang Syne, which is played, you know, during New Year's, but it's played on a saxophone in sort of a, you know, somber octave, and it's played very slowly. So it kind of, you know, they're both successful in their lives, they both had fun catching up, but it reminds you of love that is lost. And the snow turning into rain is like, snow is seen as beautiful and unique, and not all snow, and every snowflake is different and stuff like that. And then rain, it's like, not a lot of people like rain. Almost everybody likes snow, or at least as long as you're not driving in it. But nobody likes rain, or most people don't like rain. Especially rain when it was snowing, because then it's like cold and damp, and it's just depressing. And so, you know, this guy realizes how depressing the meeting actually was. It could have been so much better. And that's the thing. It's a song about wondering what could have been, which again is not a Christmas song. You know, there's a hopefulness there that's more hopeful. There's a hopefulness there that's more hopeful than Cohen's song, than Hallelujah, but it's still not very hopeful. And then, you know, so both of those songs are not, you know, sort of the happy, enjoyable aspects of Christmas. They don't embody those things. So the fact that they're played during Christmas is a little weird. And like I said, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he agreed with me. And he brought up a third song that is not as obvious about its sadness. And actually, it's not quite sad either. And that song is A Few of My Favorite Things. Raindrops on Roses and Whiskers on Kittens. I can't remember any of the words to that song right now. But, you know, Raindrops and Roses, Whiskers on Kittens, Bright Copper Kettles and Warm Woolen Mittens, brown paper packages tied up with string. These are a few of my favorite things. So, you know, it's like, okay, it's a fun song. But it's like, that's not about Christmas either, because, you know, Raindrops on Roses, okay, so springtime, Whiskers on Kittens, bright copper kettles, warm woolen mittens. Okay, mittens, winter. And then you have white winters that melt into springs. So the song is more about spring than it is about winter. And, you know, winter's mentioned, but it melt into springs. You know, raindrops on roses. So there's imagery about spring. There's imagery about kittens. There's imagery about, you know, so yes, it's a happy song, but why is the song only played during Christmas? I understand playing that during Christmas a little more because the message is a little nicer. I also understand a little bit more because maybe it's about how when you feel bad, it makes you feel better thinking about your favorite things, you know, because one of the verses is when the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things and then I don't feel so bad. So, you know, it's a song about, you know, happy thoughts, especially when you're not feeling good, which is great, which is fine. It's a cute song, but there's no, like, I think about Christmas when I feel bad. You know, you don't actually hear that. And maybe if you did, it might make a little more sense to play it during Christmas more often. But the whole thing is that all of these songs that I've mentioned are almost exclusively only played during the Christmas season. You could play them in so many other things, and you could play them with so many other things that suit them so much better. In fact, one of my favorite ways that Hallelujah was played was one of the first times that I heard the song, and probably one of the reasons that it became so popular in recent times. That was in the film Shrek. And it's hard to believe that the film Shrek is 15 years old. Actually, 16 years old, because now it's 2017. But in that film, you know, there's a moment where Shrek realizes that he loves Fiona. But he gives her over to Farquaad anyway. And, you know, they're sort of setting up the wedding between Fiona and Farquaad. And there's, you know, a very somber moment in which they're getting ready for the wedding. And the song Hallelujah is played during that. And that is sort of the perfect time to play that song. Because it's about, you know, trying to find solace during a trying time in your life. And so, you know, especially because you've lost love and now you're questioning love, and, you know, you might even be questioning your faith. You know, you had your faith, but you needed proof. There's also verses like, you know, maybe there's a God above, you know, and stuff like that. So it's really, that song is really well suited to that moment in that film, and it's also kind of, it feels out of place, but it's not, because that song is, or because that film is usually comedic. It's a film for kids and for adults, because there's quite a bit of adult humor in Shrek, but that song is, you wouldn't expect it to be played in a film like Shrek that's, you know, animated and stuff like that, but it fits so well in that moment. And I wish more films would use songs like Auld Lang Syne and My Favorite Things in instances like that. And Auld Lang Syne doesn't get enough recognition except during the Christmas season. But I don't know if I mentioned it in the beginning of this video, but it's one of my favorite songs of all time, and actually so is Hallelujah. My Favorite Things, not so much, but definitely those first two are two of my favorite songs ever. And I really wish that Auld Lang Syne got more recognition. Hallelujah gets more recognition now, especially since Shrek, and since it's played in the Christmas season. And there are instances where it's played not for the effect of a Christmas song, and I think that's where it fits more. I think Auld Lang Syne would also fit very well in things like that, and I just, you know, I think that if they were just played on the radio regularly, you know, all three of those songs, and there's even a few other songs that would be fine played regularly, or even just more often, I think the idea of them being Christmas songs would kind of go away, and it'd be okay to listen to them in, like, the middle of June, because I've listened to, not so much Hallelujah, but I've listened to Auld Lang Syne, like, in the middle of June, and people are like, what are you doing? This is a Christmas song. And I go, no, it's not. Listen to it. And then they listen to it, and they're like, oh, you're right. So I wanted to kind of talk about, you know, how we look at music and how our culture kind of shapes things, even if they're not supposed to be shaped that way. That's sort of a video for another time, that sort of broader subject, but I wanted to kind of really talk about this here, because my friend and I had a good time talking about it, and I really hope that you enjoy the video. That's all I have to say for now. I have a bunch of other ideas for a bunch of other videos. I plan on making a lot more, so hopefully this will be the first one in a long string of them. It's not going to be every day, but it's going to be hopefully at least once a week, if not more than that. I have, like I said, a bunch of other ideas, so stick around, keep watching, like and subscribe and all that fun stuff if you want to. It'll help me out. Thanks. See you later.